Lady Colin Campbell on the bombshell new Diana tape, still to come. But first, the clash. Now, rock legend Alice Cooper is the latest high-profile victim of cancel culture after the singer was dropped by a makeup brand for describing kids medically changing genders as a fad. So this is Vampyre Cosmetics, which describes itself as a female, disabled and LGBT plus owned company, which axed its collaboration after Cooper told the website Stereogum, "I find it wrong when you've got a 6-year-old kid who has no idea. He just wants to play and you're confusing him, telling him, yeah, you're a boy, but you could be a girl if you want to be. I mean, if you identify as a tree, I'm going, come on." It's gone now to the point of absurdity. Personally, I think what Alice Cooper said is totally legitimate and completely true. But in a statement posted on social media, Vampyre Cosmetics said it stands with all members of the LGBTQIA+ community. Sorry, I can't even bring myself to say that, ludicrous. And believes everyone should have access to healthcare. But what do you think? Is it wrong for Alice Cooper to be cancelled simply for describing medical gender transitions for kids as a fad? Dan at gbnews.com, tweet me at gbnews. Those results shortly. But to debate this now, I'm joined by trans teacher and journalist Debbie Hayton, the author and commentator Ollie London, and the author of The Case for Cancel Culture, Ernest Owens. So, Ollie, this seems to be happening all the time. We've seen it with Roisin Murphy last week, Neo the week before. Now Alice Cooper, one of the greats, can't state, I think, a very sensible point of view without being cancelled.
Right, I mean, what Alice Cooper said was simply common sense. Why on earth is it controversial to say that 6-year-old children should not be changing their genders? Why are we confusing children? So it's not as if he said, I'm against trans people. He simply said that 6-year-olds should not be doing this, and he believes that it's a fad. And many people believe and know it is a fad. So I think it's very bad for business for this brand to capitulate to the woke mob and release this statement. I actually think it's a very bad marketing move, and I think they will lose a lot of customers because he did not say anything controversial, and he was speaking for the majority of parents out there that do not think it's right to transition children at 6 years old.
Debbie Hayton, Ollie makes a fair point, doesn't he? I mean, Alice was not being at all critical about the trans community. I mean, you're a trans woman. Did you see anything there that he said to be offended by?
Well, no, I agree with what Ollie's just said. Alice Cooper's absolutely right. It is a fad. Numbers have shot up and children are being harmed by this. And it's important that people such as Alice Cooper speak out against it. We need more people speaking out against it. And only then will companies that just seem to have been brainwashed, as far as I can see, will they come to their senses. And to say that they stand with all the members of the LGBTQIA+ community, well, they don't stand with me.
They don't stand with me either. They do not stand with me either, so that's a very good point. Ernest Owens, I mean, as we've said before, you've literally written the book calling for cancel culture to spread through the West. But Alice Cooper shouldn't be cancelled for this, should he?
He's not cancelled, okay? First of all, when you're talking about conservatives are in favor, right, of a free market and for capitalism, right? This company is standing by their values. They are standing firm on it. They don't believe that Alice Cooper is, a person that has made statements that align with their brand. And as a company, have the right to choose who represents their brand. And so it's interesting because conservatives like yourself will often say, it's a free market, it's a free economy. And then when people practice their free speech and their free right to choose on how they want to brand their companies, here you are wagging your finger against them. I find that hypocritical.
Ollie, do you want to take that on?
Well, yeah, I just don't understand why a company would get involved in politics in the first place, especially when they know that trans debate, transitioning children, is a very hot button issue right now that upsets a lot of people on both sides of the aisle. So when you're simply trying to sell a product, makeup, why would you wade into politics in the first place? I think this is going to be a catastrophe for the brand's sales. They've spent all that money developing this makeup line with Alice Cooper. Look what happened to Bud Light. Look what happened to Target in America. They got involved in all this LGBT politics and it backfired. They lost billions and billions of dollars. So I think it's a very bad move by Vampyre Cosmetics.
Ernest is shaking his head. Why are you shaking your head, Ernest?
Well, it starts with what you said at the beginning, Dan. You mentioned how this was a brand that was already targeting LGBTQI community and aligned themselves with that brand. If this was like Revlon or something like that, I can understand the argument, Ali. But to be clear, this brand has a strong fan base in the West with LGBTQ clientele.
Yeah, but as Debbie Hayton just said, though, that's assuming that all people who fall into that category, I mean, I even refuse to use that LGBT thing. I think it's ridiculous. All gay people, all trans people, all think the same thing, and we don't.
There's always going to be outliers, and I think in this situation.
Oh, so Debbie, you're just an outlier, Debbie. According to Ernest, you're just an outlier, Debbie. Debbie, let Debbie respond to that.
That's fair. That's fair.
Debbie, you're just an outlier.
Well, there's a lot more people think the way that I do, but are too frightened to open their mouths.
Yeah, indeed. And Debbie, by the way, I think it's also really important to point out, isn't it, that lots of people who are trans don't believe in puberty blockers for young kids. They're sort of two separate debates, aren't they?
Well, they are. We've got a situation with children who are being transitioned before puberty, having their puberty stopped, taking cross-sex hormones. This is experimental treatment. The long-term prognosis is totally unknown, and it is wrong. We should not be doing this. And there's plenty of trans people around, myself included, who are in shock and horror about what is going on. I'm just thankful that Alice Cooper, possibly at 75 years of age, is too old to worry about what other people think about him.
He is, and I guess he's a multimillionaire, so he doesn't need to worry too much about being cancelled. Debbie Hayton, Ollie London, Ernest Owens, thank you all so much. But who do you agree with on this? Is it wrong for Alice Cooper to be axed over the trans fad comments? Nick on Twitter writes this. No, he's a legend, and what he said was basic common sense. It's gone too far. Mutilation shouldn't be celebrated in the 21st century, and it should definitely be kept away from children. From Diane, cancelling people for voicing their opinion is ridiculous. There are plenty of us who agree with him. Has freedom of speech been cancelled now? Well, Diana has in lots of places. And Lenny writes, we are going down a very dangerous path. If comments like this are sufficient to cancel such a big-name star, we must fight back against this utter insanity. And your verdict is now, and actually this is our most overwhelming poll in a very long while. 95% of you disagreeing with the cancellation of Alice Cooper. Just 5% of you saying that Vampyre Cosmetics were right.